Hi friends, Taylor from Doomed to Fail. Today we are re-releasing our episode on Christopher Watts, who brutally killed his family and did some terrible things to the bodies of his little girls. And it's a very sad story, and we say this a lot, but just get divorced. Like, it's fine. Everyone will survive. Your kids can go to therapy. Please don't murder your family. I know we're the only podcast to say that, but we really mean it. If you have any ideas for us, any questions, any concerns, please send us an email, doomtofailpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials at doomtofailpod. And as a reminder, what we're doing is re-releasing our older episodes. These came out last year and we were doing 2 stories per show, but it was getting kind of long. So now we decided to re-release them in shorter bites. And then when we're done with this, we'll find other fun stuff to release to you on Fridays. But if you wanted to go back and listen to all these episodes in their entirety, you always can. We're available everywhere that podcasts are sold for free. They're free. They're not sold. And thanks. Talk to you soon.
In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I call it a layup of the week because this story has gotten a ton of play. So I usually try and find things that are a little bit more obscure, but I'm going to be honest, I've also had a hell of a week, and I went with a layup story. So apologies, everyone. It's something that y'all already have probably heard about, but I'm going to put my own little spin on it. I am going to be discussing the Watts family murders.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have some opinions that
Should we
I'd like to
start?
share with you.
Should we start your opinions?
I want to say, number 1, don't kill your family, no matter what.
Okay.
But number 2, not Shannon, it's Shannon or whatever.
Shannon, yeah.
Yeah, like Shannon spelled weird. Seems super annoying.
Sorry, she's super annoying?
Yeah. Did you watch the Netflix documentary?
I did.
Well, she's like super mean to him in like the videos, like makes fun of him. And she's like, "Ugh, my husband's the worst. This is why he always does this stuff." And just like, she just seems like not someone I'd want to be married to.
Yeah, but
Again,
that's the thing. Like, I mean,
you can divorce people.
yeah, I've been married to that. Sorry, I like this. None of that seemed that atypical to me of like a married couple.
Totally.
Certainly
I
not
thought it was
like,
a lot. I thought I would never do that. Like, I would never be like on Facebook, be like, "Oh, my husband's the worst," because like my husband A is not the worst, but B, I would just that's so rude. Like, I would never do that. It's just like not in either of our natures to treat each other that way. So when I see that people treating each other that way, I'm like, just get divorced. This is terrible. But
so
we're not fighters, so I don't know.
you don't browbeat Juan into submission on a daily basis.
No, we're actually very nice to each other. Like sometimes we annoy each other, but like for the most part,
Yeah,
we're fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, here's the thing. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't being totally myself as I was going about doing this because I actually shared your sentiment. Like, but I was just like, oh God, the way things that happened were just
Oh, I
so
mean, they're
bad
awful. Oh
that
yeah.
it's like I reflected back and I was like, God, like yeah, how could anybody be that annoying, really?
Yeah.
Um,
No, nothing is
listen,
no one deserves what happened to her.
I'll
Zero.
say this. So like I saw a lot of her social media posts, and actually like a lot of her posts were very like glowing of him, saying like, "What an amazing father! We're so lucky to have you. The girls are so whatever, this, that, and the other thing." I just there's something really weird to me about like people with like a life, like responsibilities, careers, family, and things like that being super into like social media.
Hmm.
I mean, at this point, if it's not about my dog or it's not about this podcast, I don't post anything because I just like,
Hmm.
why is my life important enough to give a shit what other people think? You know, like it's a weird psychology of like, I need everybody to know about my life and care about it. And it's just like, I'm here for the likes, I'm here for the comments. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand that. And she was like heavy into that, which like, that would be the part that would drive me insane. It's like, why do you give a shit about what these strangers think about like your ultrasound results or like how
Yeah.
you feel about like, it's like what the girls ate for breakfast or how they were fussy? Like who are you talking to when you post this
Yeah.
shit? Like that's what would drive me nuts.
Yeah. Totally. I
So
get that.
I'll get to this. Okay, I'll get to actually being deliberate about this outline and actually like not going on that side rant. But so I'll start by saying, again, this story has been poured over extensively. You called it out as well, and the fact that there's a whole Netflix documentary on it or series on it, and I don't know for sure, but there's got to be at least a dozen plus podcasts dedicated just to this murder because it was both horrific in what happened and also
Hmm.
incredibly stupid. The one thing I would say is if you do decide to do something like this, A, you're never gonna get away with it for sure.
Hmm.
Like that's never gonna happen. So always contemplate suicide immediately after. And if you don't do this when you have like another 50 to 60 year lifespan ahead of you. Like that's the dumb
Yeah.
part of all this. It's like this guy is less than 40 in prison in a solitary cell. Like, that's it.
Hmm.
Like that is literally it. It's like, dude, at least wait until like cancer starts kicking in, your liver starts failing, like then maybe go this route. But like don't do it beforehand. That's my
Or like,
take.
I mean, don't do it first and foremost. But like, or have like a better plan. Like you were saying, you said at one point, like send your credit cards to people around the world and have them use them and then just disappear. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
I got it
know.
all worked out. I got it all worked out. So
And like, isn't it
yeah.
John List who like was gone for like a long time after he killed his
Because he
family?
did it right. Because he did it right. Because he took used only cash. Okay, we need to
Hmm.
stop giving people game plans here. But the fact that he took out cash, left his car one spot, and then just well, John List was also lucky because he was in an era where like there was no cameras, there was no social
That's
media,
true.
there
It
was
was like
no
the
camera
60s.
phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
nobody's gonna see him and like take a picture of it and send it to like the FBI's most wanted. Like so
Yeah.
he had I mean shit, if you're gonna do it, maybe the time to do it is already over for you, but I don't
That's true.
know. Where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah.
So you
But
carpe
don't do
diem
it.
your way to murder your family. So
Don't do it. Don't do it.
this, so to your point, like this guy didn't fool anyone for even a minute that he
Yeah.
didn't do it.
Yeah.
It was so obvious and transparent. So obviously, who I'm talking about is Chris Watts, and yeah, it's kind of I'm not going to get into the house because the house is actually like really really terrifying. But so the story here starts in
Wait, get into that. Do the terrifying stuff. Continue.
Well, yeah, yeah. I'm definitely going to get. I'm not whitewashing this at all. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. I'm actually go into details that I didn't know that Netflix never covered.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
we're going to
nice.
go even grislier on this one than usual. Again, it's kind of a layup story, so like a lot of details are kind of out there. But so the story is in Frederick, Colorado, which is maybe 30 minutes east of Boulder. It's an incredibly white and incredibly middle class town. If you street view their home, you'll see that it's just like a very, very normal looking suburban life that you would live there. There's kids
Hmm.
parks, there's it's that kind of a vibe. I wrote down like think more home improvement than Roseanne. Like it's not trashy, it's just like a notch above that.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Our main characters, we're gonna start with who you just mentioned, Shanann, not Shannon. Shanann Watts. I know, it's just like, oh,
It's
even that's
so
fucking
annoying. It just
irritating. It's
like
like, come
it's not her
on.
fault, but god damn it, it's so annoying.
Yeah. She was 34 at the time that this all transpired. She and Chris were married in 2012 after having dated for about 2 years. She worked for, even her job fucking drives me nuts. I gotta stop shit talking to this dead woman. She
I
worked
know.
for a company that produced and sold a product called Thrive, which seems to be kind of like a health and weight loss supplement. Taylor, have you ever heard of a company called Cutco?
Yes, like the knives.
Okay, I wrote down like I thought at first that was like a Texas thing. How do was that like a Nevada thing too, or a California or New York
It's
thing?
an everywhere thing. I think it was like it was one of the like so you could Cutco sell knives like door to door. And I feel like there's like my husband has a great story where he was like he worked for a day for like a thing selling like meat door to door, like steaks. And like that was
Jesus,
something that you could do, but now there's just like I mean there's an infinite number of MLMs you can get involved in. Like the
infinite,
yeah,
infinite. Like
yeah.
that's what I thought this was kind of like. I heard what the business model was. And was like, this is Cutco. This is basically. Hey, I will say, Cutco knives are amazing,
Yes,
but the
dude.
entire business model is you hire a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, have them
Hmm.
tell their aunt, uncle, and parents to buy these knives, and they see that they're good knives. Like, well, is it good enough for this price? Probably not, but whatever. It's my kid. I love him, so I'll by the damn
Hmm.
knife, right? And
Yeah.
that's basically what this was. This was like, because the model, I think, is you buy the product, so you are the wholesale drop shipper
Hmm.
of the product.
Right.
So like they make their money because they sell to the salespeople, and the salespeople have to
Hmm.
offload that to everybody else. This guy in college did it. It was so hilarious. He thought he was so smart. He went and bought fucking like $3,000 worth of these supplements. I went to his apartment and we are just gonna like hang out or something. And he just had boxes of this stuff, and he was just like, "This is amazing." And like it turned out we weren't hanging out. He was trying to sell me. He invited me over to his little studio to be like, "This is the best thing ever." Anyways, I didn't buy it, but
I
um,
love when I love that. I want to, like, I love when they do that in Always Sunny. Like, they always, whenever they do that,
yeah,
where someone buys like a ton of supplements and is trying to sell them, it's like such a hilarious bit. They do it in Only Murders in the Building, which you should watch if you haven't yet, but it's great.
yeah. I remember when my mom getting like roped into Tupperware parties
Yeah.
where like all these women get together and sell Tupperware to each other. Anyways, so that's what Shanann was doing. She was selling this product called Thrive, the weight loss supplement, essentially, and she seemingly made decent money at it. She made about 60 to 70K by some accounts, and apparently the product did actually work. We're going to get into that a little bit later because there is some thought that this product actually had a hand to play in what ended up going on. She was also a lupus sufferer, which is an autoimmune disease where the body's immune system attacks healthy parts of the body. She
Hmm.
would discuss lupus quite a bit on her YouTube channel and her Facebook posts. Again, it's just like somebody who like thinks that her life is really important and people should know everything about her, which is like just a, I don't know, it's a personality type that I just don't bond with well.
Hmm.
Yeah, like on the note of
Yeah.
the social media stuff, like I mentioned to you before, like she did talk a lot about her life, the kids. She talked a lot about Chris. It was just it's like everything had to be documented.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally everything. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same page, right? Like
Hmm.
so I actually have somebody in mind that does this, and it's like, man, like it's weird because like they'll post and like nobody will like or comment, but like every day
Hmm.
it's like 17 posts about like what happened today. It's just like nobody cares. Nobody's like maybe the catharsis, like maybe just put this in a diary, like whatever.
Are you talking about me and how much I post about this podcast?
No, I actually really,
Is
really
this an
appreciate that you do.
intervention?
No. I actually really appreciate like I've actually had that thought multiple times where I'm like, I should be doing as much as Taylor is doing, and then I just get like swamped with work shit, and it's just like I don't want to look at my computer screen. Like at this
I
point,
know.
when I'm doing work Zoom meetings, I tell everyone like I'm turning my camera off. I'm walking because my eyes are fucking bleeding from just staring at the screen, so I don't want to do it anymore. So
100%.
that's part of my problem. But I will try to get better. We should talk about that at some point. I'm gonna
Yeah,
you can do my review, my employee review for Doom to Fail, and tell me how I'm doing.
I will.
Um, so her and Chris had two daughters. Their names were Bella and Celeste. Celeste went by Cece. I'm just gonna refer to her as Celeste here. And they had a third on the way who would have been named
Mm.
Nico. Bella was 4 at this time. Celeste was 3, and Shanann was pregnant. She was 4 months pregnant with Nico at this time. So I think 4 months is showing, right? It's a pretty big. It
Yeah,
says
you definitely have
okay.
told everybody, you know,
You definitely yeah.
um, if you're like conservative and like about it and like worried about it, you wait until like 3 months to tell people, but after that, you've definitely told people. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Chris himself, he was an oil field operator, and by all accounts, from what you could see, because again, everything was documented, he looked like a happy, devoted father and husband. He was always smiling, and he put on the act, he put on the show, essentially.
Mhm.
Chris was apparently also a fan of Thrive, that supplement company, and he was apparently kind of doughy prior to the events that we'll be discussing and lost somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 50 pounds through some combination of like using Thrive, which is like a patch apparently. You put on like it adheres to your skin and like doses you throughout the day with like a
Oh, it
bunch of
sounds like it
vitamins.
works. Are you trying to sell it to me?
So I have like about 50 pounds of these patches here that are waiting for someone to be shipped to. So if you just Venmo me $600, I will send you this box of Thrive.
Oh
Um,
my God.
but like
Amazing.
yeah, like apparently this guy got like pretty jacked and ripped. And what typically happens when someone is doughy living one way and then they ended up living a different way that gets them jacked and ripped, he started looking outside of his marriage for company, which is
Yeah.
exactly what ended up happening. So that's kind of the secret. If your partner starts suddenly getting like super healthy and good looking, like you're headed to Divorce City. So just keep an eye on that as well. He had a mistress who will play into this. I feel pretty bad for the mistress
Me
because
too.
she had no idea,
Yeah,
no idea what was going on.
totally.
Her name is Nicole Kessinger, not Kissinger, Kessinger. And I can actually say her name and not feel that bad for saying it because after this, she changed her name and moved away. And we actually have no idea who she is now, which is
I was gonna
probably
say, should we say
a
her
good
name?
move.
So good for her. Poor
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
I thought about not saying it at first. I was like, probably shouldn't even name drop her at this point. But later on in the article, I was like, she changed her name. She's gone. Like nobody
Yeah,
knows who she is. Somewhere like she probably went into like witness protection program. I don't know.
for real. I'm sure people were mad at her and like she didn't do anything wrong,
No, I'm gonna
you
get
know.
into a lot more of her involvement. Like she was actually a very good person in this situation, in this dynamic.
Poor thing.
So the way she met is that her and Chris also they worked for the exact same company. I think it was called Anadarko, and she was a geologist there as he was a oil field operator.
That's cool.
And yeah, she had her shit together. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like when I learned about her and I saw her pictures, I was like, this was like she thought like, oh, I met this great person. Like this is the start of a new
Yeah.
life, and like it was just like
Ugh.
now I've achieved. You know what? It's like that feeling where like, okay, I did all the right things. I went to college. I got my master's degree. I
Hmm.
became this professional. I got hired. I have a 401k. I bought my first house. Like I'm doing all the boxes, and I met this person who's going to be like the next thing that's going to, that's
Hmm.
how I felt. Like that's how she looked in their pictures, and didn't work out that way, obviously. So
Poor thing.
Chris had apparently told her that he was undergoing a divorce from his wife. He was like separating, going through a divorce, and was honest that he had 2 kids with this wife that he was leaving. So she
Hmm.
knew that much, but not anything else. So let's get into the actual events. This happens so fast, which validates how fucking stupid this guy is.
So
On
stupid.
August 13th of 2018, at around 2 o'clock in the morning, it was like 1:48 a.m., Shanann came home from Arizona from a business trip she was on.
Hmm.
That same day, so the morning later on that morning, she had an OBGYN appointment that she didn't go to. And she was also supposed to attend a really important work meeting that she also missed. And she
Hmm.
wouldn't respond to her text messages. So her friend, someone named Nicole Atkinson, grew concerned and went to the house to check on her.
So I don't know if you're gonna say this, but that girl is a badass hero. Like, if you saw the video of her, she was like, I'm not gonna let this go. And
Yeah, I remember
she's the
thinking to
kind of friend you
myself,
need. Yeah.
I know, I was also looking at it from the perspective of Chris of like, man, she is going to blow up my spot.
Oh yeah. No,
And
he
she
knew
did.
as soon as she got there, he knew that he was like, this isn't gonna last more than like a day, because she was not gonna
Yeah.
be like, she was not gonna let it go. She is just best friend of the decade award to her.
Yeah, she was a dog with a bone. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like you can tell, like that is not a woman who moves easily. Like she was gonna stand there until this was figured out. Like she
Oh,
was not gonna
100%. She was never
kowtow
gonna
to
back
the
down. Yeah.
anyone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was
So
fucked.
he was fucked from the second she took an interest because her
She's
interest in
the
this,
best.
yeah, like her interest in this is why like there was never really a chance to like digest anything, absorb it. What's going on? What did I just do? How do I get out of this? Where's my
Yeah.
cash? Where's my passport? Like no, she got in the middle immediately. So
Amazing. Congratulations. You're the best.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So she's there. Obviously, nobody else is. She sees that Shanann's car's in the garage. It's got a window. She can see through it. She calls Chris, expressing concern of what's going on. Then she calls the police. So the police arrive. They do a welfare check, and there's obviously no sign of Shanann or the girls. None of the belongings you would expect of someone leaving a house were actually missing. So like her keys, her
Hmm.
phone, prescriptions, because she had autoimmune disease. She had to have
Yeah.
medication with her. All this stuff was at the house. Chris comes home in the middle of this, and Taylor, have you seen any of the body cam video of this?
That's what I was talking about. Yes, but he's just like, no, 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 no. And wait, what's her friend's name again?
Nicole.
Nicole. And Nicole is like, no, this. Like it's incredible. Like that's what I've seen.
I have the body cam image like etched in my brain. I actually didn't watch it when I was researching this because I've like read about this case so much before in the past. The way he walks up to the house, it's like that was the moment it just snapped of like I'm fucked. Like this
Like,
is the
oh my God, when you know
he
you're
didn't
gonna have to be on the news being like, please come
he,
home. You
he
know?
didn't even he didn't even open his mouth and the look in his face is just like this is the end. Like And he was right,
Asshole.
because
Yeah.
he had a horrible, horrible poker face throughout this entire thing. Anybody who has a remote interest in this case, I mean, obviously the Netflix documentary incorporates the body cam image, but like, there's a lot more. Like, there's a lot of body cam imagery or videos that you can go watch of like this entire interaction he has with the police, he has with Nicole, he has with the neighbors. Like, this guy was inundated. Like, think about this. Obviously, spoiler alert, you just killed three members of your family and a fourth that was on the way. You spend the
Hmm.
entire night getting rid of the bodies.
Then you went to
You're,
work.
yeah, and then you come back to this scene of what you just did. The cops are there. You have your neighbor there. You got Nicole there, the immovable object, and you're just
Mhm.
like, he knew that moment that it was kind of over, and you could see it written on his face completely.
Yeah,
So
you asshole. You got caught immediately.
yeah, he just looked totally deceptive, totally shifty. And I actually wrote here, it's irrelevant. We discussed already, but I wrote that maybe if Nicole wasn't so on the ball, he would have had time to gather himself. But
Yeah.
he didn't, because she was just right there, just Johnny on the spot.
Get yourself a friend like Nicole.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. I saw one video where where one of Chris's neighbors, he's with Chris and the police, and he goes, "Hey, I have a camera that captures part of their driveway. If Shanann left mysteriously, we should be able to see it on this video." And Chris again, it's all taped.
I'm only
Chris
laughing
is
because
like,
it's like you are the worst. You did like
dude,
you thought of nothing.
thought of
Like
nothing. Can
what an
you
asshole.
imagine what must be going through your mind and your chest if you're Chris in this situation? He's just like, oh, that's great. Let's look at this video. He has no idea what's
Yeah.
on it.
Oh my
Because we're gonna
God.
find out later, they might have just captured him loading her corpse in the back of the car. But
Yeah.
that's what because he has no idea where it's pointed to. So they go to the neighbor's house. The police and Chris go to the neighbor's house, and you can't make anything out. Like, it's like obscured. The truck's too big. There's bushes in the way. You really can't see what's going on. But as the video starts playing, there was a point when Chris looks away, like he like turns his back to the video, almost like just like fuck, this is it. And then he turns around and he has his hand. He picks himself up. He's like, oh, I can't. I have to look at the video. I have to express concern for my family. And so he looks at the video, but then he puts his hands on the top of his head like he's being arrested. Like, he's just. It's not good. It's not
It's
good.
not funny, but like it's funny just because like he's yeah, just like couldn't have 24 hours ago
Yeah.
was a totally
Not
different thing
even.
for this dude.
Not even. It wasn't even 24 hours. It was way
Oh
less
my
than 20. It
God.
was like maybe like 12 hours. Yeah. Totally different
Insane.
life. At one point, Chris walks away. I think he like left to go move a car or something, and the body cam video captures the neighbor look at the cop and say, "Yeah, he's acting weird,"
Yeah.
which he was. He was. Everybody could tell he was just not being himself, being normal. There's another video that you just pointed out where he's on the news pleading for Shanann and the girls to come home, and
Ugh.
this is so cringeworthy because like he says it in this tone that is so deadpan, so devoid of feeling, and his eyes are just like black, and it's just like
I
I
mean, what are you
I
supposed to
miss
do?
I miss the bright eyes of smiles of my daughters. Please come back, come back. And he's like looking at the camera and just like it's like the most poorly acted thing you've ever seen in your entire life.
Yeah.
Which yeah, like what are you? He has no
What are
choice.
you
He's got
supposed
to
to
say this,
do?
right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to. I've seen so many of those where like, people are on the news and like the in-laws are crying and like you're in there and you're like, you know what happened and what are you supposed to do? Oh my gosh. It's
You
crazy.
tell him you're going to get coffee and you just fucking leave. Like that's what you do
Another, yeah,
because you're
no.
never gonna get out of it.
Well, like, okay, maybe you'll talk about this eventually, but didn't the other Peterson who killed his wife, didn't he like try to leave to Mexico and dyed his hair? And he got
Yeah,
caught.
but he was stupid because he stopped to go golfing. He stopped to do a back nine on the golf course with his dad, with like a wig in the back of his car with like $100,000 in cash. It's like, dude,
Right, right,
you got all the evidence
right.
that prove your flight risk on you. You don't have 3 hours to play golf today. Like,
Right, right. White people
anyways,
problems. Yeah, continue.
seriously. So Chris apparently he goes willingly to the police station because he's not under arrest at this point. They're just like they don't know anything, right? They don't know if anybody's dead. So he goes there to answer questions, and he also goes to take a polygraph test. He obviously fails the polygraph when asked to get anything to do with his wife or the kid's disappearance. The police grill him on this, and at first he maintains a story that he has no idea what happened to them. By this point, that was the story. I have no idea what happened to them. And then his dad is at the police station, and he asks to see his dad. And again, just like going back to like you got to remember, like you look at him and you're like, you look at the picture of them as a family, like what a wholesome dad-looking guy. You got to remember, some people can look normal and be complete morons on the inside. Like this guy was
Yeah.
one of those guys who just seemed like a normal all-American dude and had rocks for
Mm-hmm.
brains.
Mm-hmm.
He's being taped, obviously, in a police interrogation room, and he brings his dad in, and he whispers to his dad as though he doesn't think that people can hear him whispering to his dad, that he confesses that he killed her. He tells her,
Oh my.
I killed Shanann. And the dad's concerned, puts his hands on his shoulder, like, what happened, son? You can tell me. And then he starts, like, coming up with the story. Like, he literally just kind of invents the story in the spot, saying that he walked in on... He said that he told her that he's having an affair. She flew into a rage, killed the girls. So he, in a rage, killed her. And the dad's just like, I mean, I guess, I don't know. If you're a parent, I guess you believe what your kid tells you because you don't want to believe the alternative. And so the dad's just very concerned and is like, yada, yada, yada. So anyways, that's what's going on. And the police come back in and he starts kind of unraveling and telling this story. And I wrote here that I really loved watching the police interview of Chris because they were just so good and patient about drawing out the lies and teasing them apart one by one. Part of this methodology is like, she's the bad one, right? We all know she's the bad one. You're the good one. You did it for a reason. It makes sense. Like, think about it this way. Like they break it down lie by lie. So during this process, he goes from, I have no clue what happened, to I'm having an affair, to I told her I want a divorce, to she killed the kids, to then I had to kill her, ultimately ending with our bodies are in crude oil tanks at my work. I mean, that's the disparity of the hours-long conversation they had here. So the prevailing theory is that Chris and Shanann got into a fight the morning she came home from that work trip. Chris essentially saying that I'm having an affair and I'm leaving you, basically. Chris strangled her in their bedroom, and Bella walked in on him doing this. He then wrapped Shanann in a bed sheet and placed her in the back of his work truck, the floor of the back seat, not the bed of the truck, and then placed the two girls in the back seat as well.
But they're alive, right?
Yeah, they're alive. And they were asking him, what's wrong with mommy? And he was like, yeah.
The most sociopathic, unbelievable thing I can possibly imagine.
I was like wondering, like, what are you thinking?
I mean, like, it's supposed to be like total panic, but like, oh my God, don't strangle people. Well, like I said earlier, maybe we need, there's things I want to strangle. So maybe like a fake strangler that you could strangle, like a stress strangling thing if you're so angry at the world. But like, God, I mean, if he's going to kill the girls anyway, like, why make them sit through that drive?
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. I was like, why didn't you just do it at the house? If you're gonna, maybe he didn't know he was gonna do it. Maybe he was just
that's true. He was trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, maybe like that drive to wherever he was going was the time he like decided, oh, I guess I have to do it now. But like, why?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to do the math on this. Hold on. Let me do serial killer math real quick. So like, okay, let's say you just killed your wife and you have two kids. And at that point, if you have even paid any attention to true crime, you know that you're going down for it because it's always the husband every single time.
Yeah.
So at that point, wouldn't you? I mean, you just kind of take off with the girls, right? Like, why do you need to? Oh, you know what? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot he was stupid as shit. He thought that he could do all this and start a whole new life with his girlfriend Nicole. That's what it was.
Right.
That's the logic. I was like, keep forgetting this guy's really, really dumb. Okay, sorry. Back on track now. So the field where Chris worked was about 40 miles from the house, and that's where he ended up taking all of them. I don't know exactly how long it took, but I would assume it'd take at least 40 minutes, maybe 60 minutes to think about what to do once you get there. And once you arrive at the oil field, he took Shanann out and dropped her face first into a shallow grave, which apparently resulted in a partial birth of the kid because he like just plopped her down and the belly just compressed. Ugh.
Oh no.
Gross. Yeah, really, really gross.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. He then drove a bit further up to near the oil tanks and took Celeste out of the truck and strangled her before dropping her into the oil tank. This is a tank. This is a huge. It's so scary to me. This type of stuff
so
is just
dark. It's such like a dark
huge.
And
It's like this is where like they fill barrels
oh my
up
God, it makes me
from.
want to
This
throw up.
is it's crazy scary. Yeah.
This is horrifying.
He then turned his attention to Bella. Later on, he would say that he was surprised at how much she struggled, saying, "This is a quote: Little quiet Bella had a will to live. Out of the three, Bella's the only one that put up a fight." Yeah,
Ew.
yeah, yeah. It's
Oh
worth
my
knowing
God.
that after the conviction and everything, he kind of gave up the whole story about Shadan. He came clean basically about
Hmm.
everything. So that's why we have a lot of quotes about this from him. So he then took Bella and dumped her body in the other oil tank. There was two tanks sitting next to each other. He later would say, quote, I couldn't, this is so grotesque the way he phrased
Oh
this.
my God.
I understand what he meant, but the way he phrased it was really grotesque. The quote is, I couldn't believe how easy it was to just let her drop through the hole and let her go. I heard the splash when she hit the oil. The part of that's like grotesque is like where he's like, I can't believe how easy it was to let her go. Because like I
Yeah.
get what he's saying, but it's like you're letting your daughters, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just hits different.
Wow.
So turning back to Chris's girlfriend Nicole, on this day, so the day of the murder, he texts her saying that his wife had taken the kids on a play date and never returned. She ended up learning that Chris was still married because of that news report I mentioned earlier that was absolutely just like gut wrenchingly cringe.
Hmm.
She would ask him about his family and he would just kind of avoid answering questions or change the subject. So like she's getting that like something is happening here. Because I mean, if she watched the same video that we all did of that interview, it's obvious that there's something going on here.
Yeah.
She later would state, quote, it got to a point that he was telling me so many lies that I eventually told him that I did not want to speak to him again until his family was found. So she was like setting that boundary. Like, no, no, no. Like something's going on. You're doing something like you can't
Yeah.
talk to me anymore. Going back to so shortly thereafter, this trial became the trial itself was actually really cut and dry because Chris pled guilty to the murders. Like there is no what's the defense? There's zero way to defend this case, right? So he
Yeah.
confessed to the murders. He pled guilty. He was only spared the death penalty because Shanann's family requested the state not pursue it, thinking that like there's already been enough death. We don't need to kill somebody else in the middle of all this.
That's nice of them, but
It's is it though? Because to me, I'm like, I imagine the life you had, and then imagine that you're in a cell for 23 hours a day, and you're like 33 years old. Like, I think I would rather take the needle.
totally. No, you're right. So I feel like they were like, so who knows what they were actually thinking, but maybe they're like, let that man suffer by himself for the next 50 years, the piece of shit,
Yeah, yeah.
which will be
He
great.
yeah, he received 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, and then another 48 years for the unlawful termination of Stan's pregnancy, and another 36 years for 3 counts of tampering with a deceased body for what he did to them after they were dead. He is being housed in a maximum security prison in Wisconsin now. He had to be moved around quite a bit because his crime was so high profile, and because he committed this crime against his own kids,
Hmm.
that he's not allowed to mingle and he can't socialize with general population because somebody will kill him like immediately, right?
Hmm.
It's presumed now that he's in protective custody and that he's in solitary confinement, which essentially means that he's in his cell for 23 hours a day. He gets 1 hour out for rec time, and that's basically it. He essentially has no interactions with any other human being in real life. So
Wow.
in person, yeah. I don't recall where I heard this, but I do remember hearing that he sometimes will have visual hallucinations where he will see the girls in his prison cell with him,
Good.
which, yeah, like I totally believe this. I think that, again, like if, like, again, he's not even 40. He's still in his
Yeah.
30s. And you have a minimum 30 to like 60 years left till
Wow.
you die in this prison cell. Like, you're probably going to start seeing shit.
Yeah. I hope that they
Apparently,
haunt the shit out of him.
it's gotta
They
be
should.
so. Oh man, like yeah,
Yeah.
because like you know what? Like I'm not gonna say I get it, but like okay, you went into a blind rage, you killed your wife, okay, but then you had like an hour to think about this with your kids. Like that's the part of it that is like the hardest one for me to like actually digest. Is like
Yeah.
what he did to the girls. Like that's so next level crazy.
Yeah.
So I
Totally.
do. He should be haunted for sure, but. It hasn't stopped his adoration from women. So he apparently gets a
Ugh.
ton of like sexy photos and letters
Ew.
and stuff like that from women who are in love with him. So yeah, that's a whole
How
subset
hard is
of dating.
dating? Is
I
dating that hard? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's that hard that you have to like write someone a murder an email or I don't
I
know.
mean, dating someone well adjusted is hard. Obviously, these women are not well adjusted, right? Is
Yeah.
that safe to say? Like they're probably
Yeah.
there's
No,
probably some
it's
like cobwebs and bats in their brains floating around there.
I yeah, and I don't get it. I don't know what it is. Like is it it's there's something real. I don't know. Like I don't understand what could possibly be when you find when you're like I have to it's a convicted murderer. I feel like I remember reading in the beginning of this people were like there's no way you did it. I love you. And you're like he said he
Ugh.
did it. What is wrong
Yeah.
with you? Is there,
Yeah.
I feel like this is another plug for widow or won't ya because women in their 30s are getting desperate. So maybe they can find a widow who's like a widow by not murder.
There's a widow by not murder.
Is
Yeah.
anyone a marketing executive that wants to talk to me about widow or won't ya? Please give me a call.
We're trying to get we're trying to get famous people. Um, if we can get famous and help widows, you know what? That is the sweetest reward of all.
Definitely.
So the house itself, Saratoga Lane, they purchased a house in 2013 for just shy of $400,000. The house was listed for sale starting in April of 2019. I don't actually have the very, very first original price that it was listed for, but counting the price changes, there was 19 price changes from when the house listed until a few months later in July of 2019. Ultimately, the house ended up being priced somewhere around $415,000, at which point the listing was just completely removed. Somebody
Yeah.
just delisted the house. I I actually don't know what happens in these situations. Like I would assume so Chris owns the house, but obviously he's in jail, so his assets and his liabilities, I don't know what
Right.
happens.
Well, is there like is that what the civil trial is for? For like, what's it called? Like the money that like for the family to like get money, like Ron Goldman's family, that's where they were able to like sue and try to get the money. Not that they didn't do it for the money, but isn't that the one where money's involved?
So they didn't have this. Yeah, yeah. That's where the punishment isn't prison, it's money. But they didn't
Right.
have that. I mean, Chris has nothing,
Oh,
right? Like he has no assets, he has nothing. Let's like
right.
maybe oh, you know what? Actually, maybe it would have gone to Shanann's estate. Maybe it would have gone to
Yeah.
Shanann's estate, and then if she didn't have a will, then it would have just gone to her parents because her kids are
Yeah.
dead. So
Yeah. Ugh.
it goes up to the parents. So maybe it was them that actually started listing the house. Yeah, but
Yeah. You
it's
definitely, I can't believe no one
confusing.
bought it though. I mean, it just feels
You
like,
seriously, you can't believe that nobody bought it.
yeah, I can't believe no one bought it because it's like a nice house in a nice neighborhood. And like, what else? Like, they could sell it for like half that, just like get rid of it.
That
Don't you feel, I
that
mean,
is so
otherwise,
disgusting. That is what a that house would scare the shit out of me.
totally, but they don't want, why, but they don't want it anymore. I would just want to be like, get it out of my everything. I never want to think about it again.
Oh, you're saying the family.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Just list it for like $50,000. Who gives a shit? Just like get it sold.
Yeah. Like, I want absolutely
It's
nothing to do with this place. Get rid of it.
somehow, some way, this house was purchased. Like, what would it be? It would be 4 months ago.
Really?
Like 4 months ago, the house sold, and it apparently sold for $600,000.
Whoa, that's way more.
Yeah, way more. I don't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe like the bad vibes wore off. But $600,000 for that house seems like a lot. I mean, that is you're living on a in a ghost house. Like
Well, well, yes, but there's
I
plenty of
feel
ghost
like you're
houses.
advocating. I feel like you're really advocating for this house.
Well, no, I feel like there's tons of murder houses, like that Los Angeles murder house that was so cool and like fascinating, where that guy killed his family, and then like it was like a time capsule inside, and they said there were like Christmas presents that were still there because he happened on Christmas Eve, and like all this stuff that was like real fun and spooky, and then someone bought it and they gutted it, and then they ran out of money, so they just like sold it again, gutted, and it was like. That's super disappointing because it was really cool, like a cool 60s time capsule. And like, you stayed at a haunted house hotel once, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. But didn't we talk about buying that house, like pooling a bunch of our money together and like
Yes. Ugh.
having like multiple people
It was a
go in and buy
cool
that
house
together?
too. Yeah.
But I think it's a I think it's like generations removed thing. So I think that if the people who were killed would have been dead anyways, that is the right amount of time to wait before living in a murder house.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hold on. So okay, so the youngest would have been Nico, so he hadn't been born yet. So let's say this happened in 2018. So let's say he probably wouldn't live past 100. So like in 2120 is like when that house isn't officially scary anymore, I think.
That's fair.
That's the rule. Just made it
Yeah.
up.
But I mean, it's a long time to wait.
I know. Especially with modern house, I'm gonna actually be seeing at that point. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we're in a recession.
yeah. Who can wait? Um, but that's this case. And like I said, like look, I know that everybody's heard about it. I try to find more obscure stuff. I'm gonna find more obscure stuff for next week. But like I said, this week was a nightmare. And also this case is incredibly like red flaggy and horrible. And
Hmm.
again, like I mean, okay, so going back to the theme of the show, a big red flag is don't let your partner get fit. That's a really bad sign. Like just dose them with like bacon grease in their coffee or something. Like don't let them. I mean, they're trying to run away if they're trying to get fit.
I just wonder, like, this like middle America life, what is that like? You know, when like the mom has the MLM and all of these social media posts talking about her family trying to, I don't know what, become an influencer, and then the dad is like not great. And there's like
It's
all
so
these like weird,
cliche.
it's so cliche. It's such like a it's a middle of America boring story
Yeah, two and a
until the
half
murder part.
kids.
Yeah.
Two and a half kids. The dad has a mistress. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very middle America,
Yeah.
except it
Well,
ends in a not middle American way. It ends in Halloween
yeah.
Town is where it ends.
Yeah. Ugh, those poor babies.
Yeah.
Just abandon your kids, each
Abandon
other.
your kids.
Like,
Abandon your kids.
drop them
Just
off somewhere. They had family that like would have like he could have dropped them off at Shanann's parents' house and he could have driven for at least a week, you know?
he by the time Nicole showed up, the kids would have been like waking up. He could have just left them there.
He
Been
could have left them there. You're right.
like yeah, like it's like daddy's taking his passport and this wig and just leaving. Like do that.
He's gone. Yeah, and they'll find him in like 6 to 9 days tops, you know? But at least the girls are still alive.
He
There's just no
legit
reason to
thought
do
that he was
that.
just gonna like move on with his life. These guys are he's so stupid.
What an asshole.
What a moron.
Ugh. Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that is our story for this week. We will
thank
have
you.
more next week. Are there any disclaimers we want to throw out there or any requests, Taylor?
Yes, I definitely want to again thank everybody who gives us good feedback and it has liked us on Apple Podcasts and left reviews there. That is really the way for other people to find our podcast. So we actually yesterday I was looking at our stats and we crossed 900 downloads. So super awesome that people have been listening to it. I know a lot of those are me listening to them over and over again, but still, it's super exciting that people are listening. So please share wherever you can and just liking us on social media and sharing a post is super helpful because there might be someone in your life who would be interested in listening to our stories because we're having a really good time telling them and we want people to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say if there's bad feedback, also feel free to share that. But I'm not farting. I'm not recording myself farting. So like tell me anything else. Like just I'll tell you. You know what? I'll actually volunteer when I do choose to do that. And I'll just punctuate it somewhere in the podcast and we'll include it in the descriptions. But that has not happened yet.
Great.
I should probably edit that out, right?
That's hilarious. Well, good for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Fars.
Cool. Thanks, Taylor. Have a great day. Hopefully the sickness wears off. And thank you everyone for listening.
Woo.
Bye all.